Welcome back to Aussie Food Journeys. Our first leg of the trip, or our first stop for the trip home, is Cobbold Gorge. They had a deal at the end of their season to stay for three, pay for two. So that's what we've done. And we booked ourselves on the stand-up paddleboard tour, the gorge tour. We hung out at the pool and had a few drinks. Their infinity pool was amazing. And we did a few of their bushwalks around the property. So it was a really enjoyable 3 days and a nice relaxing one after the last little stint of work. And we hope you enjoy the video. The drive from Corumba to Cobbold Gorge today was 457 kilometres. The last 85 k's when you turn off at Georgetown, there's a fair stretch of gravel through that. But yeah, there's spots of bitumen, there's lots of gravel. The gravel can be quite corrugated in certain spots, and it was a little bit slippy. But if you drive to the conditions and just take your time through there, it actually was a pretty good trip in. We were quite surprised because we don't have dust reduction vent things in our caravan that we weren't full of dust and nothing broke on the way in and rattled off the walls or vibrated or anything. So it was actually a pretty good trip in. And yeah, just take it steady, really.
Your destination is on the right.
Oh, I know, that's where I want to be right now. Corbett. Well, is it this one? I don't know. Like through sites, and he says these yellow things mark the middle of the campsite, like the spot.
Yeah. What number?
4. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4. He said, "Do you want to pull up here and have a look at where you want to drive in?" He said, "Go for it." But that's the middle of our site, is that yellow thing. Yeah, he said you shouldn't have to do it on hook. He said that you see how everybody else is parked, but we park facing that way, obviously that one.
Before we do go out into the gorge, I just want to cover a little bit of safety first. So for that reason, we need to wear helmets and life jackets. Everyone can swim okay. If you go in the water, you're not going to panic. You've got a life jacket on. Occasionally, people do in the water, and the last thing you want is someone. So if you do end up in the water, you've got to be able to get yourself back up on the board. Either at the back into your surfing or go to the side. Beautiful, aren't they? I won't cut out the bag. So we set Monday to Thursday sorry, I've got to be straight with you. So when I'm leaving you out, I'll keep everyone coming this way.
Going wild, kind of. Ginny, I'll give you your hands lined up over there. No, it's all good.
At the bar, having a few bevos. This is the pool. This is our view. It's pretty cool. The alcoholic child. The alcoholic wife.
No, I've just been out paddleboarding. You're the one.
Me, I don't even have a drink. So what's that saying? I've made bad choices, that's what it's saying.
We've been paddleboarding all morning and you've been sitting here in the pool drinking.
So, how was paddleboarding this morning?
It was awesome.
So, did you see lots?
Lots of fish. The gorge is beautiful, but the gorge has got some beautiful rock formation and stuff. It was really pretty, so that was good. It was nice and peaceful.
So we'll, going on the tour to go through the gorge tomorrow. Should be good. Should fun. Something to do.
That's it.
And yeah,
We sit in the infinity pool and enjoy it.
sitting at the pool, bar at the pool. Don't even have to move. This is awesome.
So good.
Definitely crack it open and check. Lots of little insects love to get in there and lay their eggs, and you don't want that extra protein hit when you bite into it. So definitely check. But the leaves, if it was still on there, they're really rough, and that's why it's called the sandpaper fig. The indigenous, they would use that to pretty much smooth anything that would pass through their hands. Boomerangs, woomeras, yam sticks, anything like that. So really quite a useful little tree. And it also has a milky white sap in it. If you break off those branches, you would find that. And that was used to treat skin rashes and conditions, particularly scabies and things like that as well. And later on, we're going to see another species that has something very similar, and I'll tell you something else that you can do with it at that point. But like I said, one of those seeds crushed up and consumed is enough to kill one large individual. So make it in the midst cheek. You never know what you might be eating tonight. Might be a good idea to eat in the bistro. Quite often it does get really hot up here, but as soon as you get that breeze, it's really quite nice. It can still be about 40 degrees, and as long as you get that bit of breeze, it's not too overpowering. So I'm just going to use this little wall here behind me to go through our geology. And we need to go back about 1.6 billion years. And at that time, this area was pretty flat. Out to the east, there was a massive mountain range. Come forward in time to around that Jurassic period, that mountain range, it's eroding away at a rapid rate. There's large river systems feeding off the top down into this area. It was now a sedimentary basin, and it extended from Georgetown down to Gilberton, across to Ainsley, and quite a significant area. Each season, and back then, it was wet or wetter still. That river system would feed the sediment down into here and start to gradually build up on top of itself in what we refer to as bedding. And if you've got a really strong current, you'll get large particles being pushed through. If your current's not so strong, you get the really fine sediments being laid down. Sometimes you might even get a thin layer of mud just as that water settles and that mud's left behind. It might be washed away partially or fully in the next season, but it gradually builds up as your sandbanks start to shift and your rivers are changing direction. Instead of your layers being perfectly flat, they'll now come through on an angle, and that's what we refer to as cross-bedding. The examples that we're going to see down in the gorge, they're highly polished, so look quite beautiful. It builds up to over 300 metres in height, and this is what we refer to as Hampstead conglomerate. Hampstead meaning laid down in fresh water, being the river system. Conglomerate, different sized particles. But we do often call it sandstone. Technically incorrect, but much easier to say. An inland sea forms on top of it. The weight presses down and crushes many rocks that were once visible in amongst here. The silica binds it all together. And the two main rock types that we can still see are our quartz and shales. Everything else crushed up. The inland sea, it recedes, and around 20 million years ago, the Robertson River that we crossed, it's a fault line, and there was some movement. It's believed at that time this side sunk down about 200 metres and it was protected. The village side, it erodes away completely and you now have only ancient metamorphic rock on that side. This side, it was a little bit more sheltered and we have 50 metres of the Hampstead conglomerate left, just across that 80 square kilometres. And we're told that in the next million years, this is all going to be gone. That's what they often refer to as aggressive erosion. There are some little seeds behind me here. Once I've given you your booties, take a seed. It's much easier to put them on when you're seated.
Just think we were paddleballing down there yesterday. I like all the different colours.
Oh, I heard him just watching like what? Don't scare me like
yeah, my God, what do I do?
He said it a bit too loud. They did 3D imaging of the gorge and this is the place that was chosen as the best location. Then over the next 6 months they built this bridge complete in a factory in Cairns. They needed to prove that an aluminium gantry that was going to be used across here as part of the construction process, that it would support the bridge while it was being built. And once that was proven, they then disassembled the bridge, brought it up in pieces and placed it up on top of the sandstone up here. Everything except for the two big long side beams on each side. They're 13.5 metres long, 1,450 kilos each. They were left on the back of the truck down in the Robertson River. So the morning that the heli pilot picked them up, he would have been a bit nervous. He only had 50 kilos grace, and he'd be hoping that no one had miscalculated. So sitting up above us in a heli, you've got that rotor wash pushing down, this beam slung underneath you, and you're trying to balance each end onto a 32 centimetre core drilled pier that goes down into the rock. They're pretty good flying, I think, to be able to do that. Once that was in position, they rebuilt the aluminium gantry across here and then up the sandstone. Using old-fashioned block and tackle, they swung down in a whole series of movements. Each of the little cross beams dropped them in, bolted them in, and then moved to the next one. Once they were in, then the sides came out, and then the polycarbonate matting on each end. The last to come out is 8 metres of glass. They're 360 kilos each. Beautiful, isn't it?
Look at the holes. Look at the holes formed.
So I've
in
been
those
told that
pools.
that little round pool at the end there, that's a 3 metre drop straight down into that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to swim here, so I haven't been able to test it. Is it possible what the gorge looked like about halfway between when it started and where it is now? You don't get the force of the water coming through this little side tributary, but the erosion patterns would be very similar.
Does this change during wet season though, like, or not?
Sorry?
Like, does this change during wet season? Like, all this
Pretty
is on?
much wherever your rock's smooth is where the floodwaters go.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I'll explain that a little bit more when we're down there.
Ooh,
You'll be able
that's
to
a
see sort of a lot clearer. Photos here, guys, if you want photos looking back over the bridges. As you can imagine, if you'd been here back in those early days, 10 or 15 metres from the edge of the gorge, and you may not have even known it was here. But when we are in the boat, I'll explain how they actually found it. And from all accounts, no one actually came up with it back in those days. Because of these big scaly reptiles. And this one, it is one of our Johnstone freshwater crops. This one's a little bit bigger than what we do normally see here. We're coming into the breeding season and we're starting to see a few different crops coming through. And the big males, they're pushing the females up this end. The younger males, they'll be back on the other side of the pontoon. So we'll go past nice and quiet and just try and get a good look at this one. Hopefully it doesn't go back into the water. But a lot of times this one, it sees us coming through for the stand-up paddle boarding and it does go into the water. So we'll just be nice and quiet as we go through. And if it does thrash its tail and lunge into the water, it's not coming for us. It's just trying to get into the water where it feels nice and comfortable, down nice and deep. So we'll speak a lot about the crops when we're coming back through. And I'll try and find a couple of little small ones for us to have a good look at as well. See that fine little snout and those tiny little teeth on it? Why he didn't find the gorge. So by this time, he was well into his 90s and he considered that a really silly question. So he said, we were busy back then, you know. We had cattle to muster. Cattle don't go up in the sandstone, so why would I? If I'd gone up there, I would have been sacked. It would have meant I didn't know my job. And you've been up there, you've seen that there's no vegetation for the cattle and no water. Then got out and explored the sandstone. He really loved it. He always wanted to come back and explore it in more detail, but he never got that opportunity until many years later. And in 1992, he had a friend, Scotty, come to visit. They'd been at boarding school together. There was still no road at that point. They put the tinny in just where we left from. And when they came up around this corner, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And they started a really basic campground in 1995. Just a couple of long drop toilets back where the village is now. They then got their first lot of accommodation. That was from the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games. And more followed soon after from Kingston Mining, just south of Inesley. They then added gradually over the years the bar and bistro, reception, and the infinity pool. And then in 2019, that bridge that's up above us there. Other name, Snakebird. So you've got all of these beautiful colours coming down your rock walls. Your creams, they come from calcium deposits in the rock. The reds, browns and oranges are from iron oxide, and your black is from manganese. All those different minerals were once contained within the rock. And the way that they're exposed, when you have your floodwaters coming through, it brings large boulders and tree stumps, sometimes full trees with it. They'll hit up against these walls, and you may notice that there's some little small holes here, maybe just big enough to hook your thumb or your fist into. There's been a piece of shale or quartz rock there at one point, and with those that rubbish coming through in the floodwaters, they hit up, knocked them out. And then the soft minerals in behind are exposed, drags all the minerals out and down the walls, and then gradually over time, those smaller holes, they may erode into these larger sections that we've got up above us. And we've got that beautiful trailing maidenhair fern there on the left as well. And you'll notice there's a lot of little spots where there's water coming out of the sandstone.
Taking the woo. That's woo! I don't even know what it's doing. Yeah. Taking the extras on my morning walk this morning. Are we excited? Yep. We're going to the lookout.
What's that cartoon where they march like this?
I don't know.
That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's what I look like. Anyway, we're off to the lookout. It's a 4.5k walk.
Come on, Jerry, maybe.
Maybe. Let's march. So that's how I walk, is it? He's a pussy. I ain't doing it again, he's scared.
Yeah.
Did I scare you now? Made your camera shy, Robert.
That's pretty grey out there.
It does, it looks like it's going to rain. I don't know.
What's all it, Dad? What sort of tree is that?
I was closing up on the flies. Because, you know, it's like 6:15 in the morning and the flies are everywhere. Even with the wind. They're hitching a ride, they're lazy. They're not flies. They're sits.
Hitchhikers is what they are.
Hey?
Hitchhikers is what
Yeah,
they are.
that's right. I think that's the hill we're walking up. We made it to the top. Did you survive, Robert?
Yeah, I survived. I had some red berries on the way up, give me energy.
Oh, awesome. Well, that breeze is nice.
What's the saying? If it's red, get it in your head.
No, if it's red, you're dead.
It's on the ground, throw it on down.
Wow, surprised he's lived so long. It does look like it could rain, but beautiful view.
Yeah, definitely not too
Your nose, I got your nose. Cobbold Village is down there. Oh, yeah. I don't think I'm going to be able to see that in there.
Don't look on
No,
there. Looks like a death trap.
it does kind of. Did you get it on your camera?
On their way home, Robert stopped to show us the little, sand devils, I think they're called.
Yep, see?
Oh, yeah, he's there. Can't you dig him out? I'm not going to see that on there.
Well, we survived our lookout walk, and we're back on the road again. Our 3 days is up. We're headed to Enoch Hot Springs today. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next episode.